So right off the bat, we saw Bitcoin have a nice little run up this morning. Just breakthrough. We broke through the MACD yesterday, and up here we started to touch some of the more important lines of resistance that we had seen before. Here you see that nice 666 mark. For any of you that don't know what that means, that's actually a perfect fifth in music. It's a very beautiful thing to try to comprehend. It's actually how you get all the colors in the rainbow as well. I love math. So simple, yet so profoundly intrinsic and beautiful. But here we go. Let's not digress too far with such a awkward sentiment. We didn't even actually touch this support line that we had the other day. So this is actually a positive idea. But again, we want to break through the $7,400 area. That's really what we're looking for. That's the confirmation. So yesterday, my have we reached the bottom was more actually a personal of value of sentiment, which is my own sentimental interpretation of where we are in the markets right now. There's a lot of things that are going on in a lot of different places in the world that give decentralized cryptocurrencies the use case that they truly deserve. And that's the fact that governments and banks can get in the way of people actually using and spending their money. It's called capital controls. And we've seen it in Greece, Cyprus, Italy, Turkey, too many to name right now. Actually, just to take a look quickly back at this, the Italian stock market actually tumbled another 2%. So it was the worst performer among major European markets on Monday, today, hitting the lowest since April 2017. And this is the kind of destruction in the traditional markets that really lends the credence and value to why it is that we are invested in a space that the government can't control. Now, again, for those of you that are interested in this space, obviously we can move attention and make money from many different areas, but specifically decentralization, it requires the fact that we're going to disempower the few and empower the many. Technology has done this many times over, and it's one of the greatest changes of, the greatest changes of tide that we've seen ever, because technology is a deflationary mechanism. As technology gets better, it actually costs less and less to produce, which means every person has access to what only kings and queens used to be able to access. The fact that we can fly around the world right now, we're living in a better world today than it was ever possible. We have more at our fingertips for opportunity than ever before. And I think people often get caught in the negative sides of what's going on instead of the positive. So here at the Arcane Bear, if you like our content, give us those thumbs up. We try to stay focused on the positive because we believe truly that we are the writers and creators of our own story. And the more power that we give away to others, the more likely it is that they become the creators of our story. And this is a moment in time where we believe that we are all personally empowered to become true creators of the story that we write together in this global ecosystem. And for the first time that I've ever seen in my life, it feels like it's actually not just plausible, but very, very probable that this is an inevitability through deflationary tech. So very excited to see Bitcoin again break through this heavy line of support and resistance. Again, we didn't touch that $6,700 mark, which we've had in here quite consistently. So we're going to, obviously we need to break through that, but we've been following this upward trend here. So again, by middle of October, as we're really looking for the breakout. And then again, for our true breakout definition, we're looking at around the $7,500 mark. If we break above $7,600, we will come down again after that. But that is a confirmation that after that, once we come down after that, I'm going to be throwing every possible thing that I can. I would almost even probably sell the house for Bitcoin again. I almost did it last year when Bitcoin is around $1,000 and everyone's like, oh, you're crazy. You know, my house would have been worth like $10 million. So it wasn't a crazy idea. It was just sometimes I think the simpler things in life are worth more than money. I love the fact that I can grow food here, etc. But that's besides the point. I won't go too far into that. Let's take a look at some of the other tokens that we're big fans of. Let's start here. Let's go with Omisego next, because Omisego has been finding a lot of support near this lower area. Again, we've been watching for re-entry points with that in mind. Not investment advice, strictly for entertainment purposes only. If you can't tell, look at this guy. This is not an advice guy. This is just what I like to do every day. I like to consistently look at the patterns, watch things grow, and see what type of consistencies, or rather maybe even inconsistencies that we see in the market, and try to play off of those changes. Again, remembering that the majority of this is actually fundamentally based off people's emotions and their inability or ability, I guess, to take those movements in stride. So OMG go down near the bottom. We broke through on the 1 hour chart on the moving average convergent and divergence, but we're actually looking to break through on the daily chart before we see an entry point, which actually also brings us, see, here we go. And if you look very closely to OMG go, we've actually just turned up a little bit again. So once we break through here, that will be a strong buy indicator. We can probably even look at the buy sell button. Yeah, everything's on a strong sell on the 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. Yeah, there we go. Only in the 1 month, and even then on the moving average, it's actually a strong sell for OMG go. So we could actually see more downward pressure in Bitcoin again, like I said, but we're going to have to keep a very, very close eye on it because these are pivotal times, and it's important because, well, this is how we learn the most, is if every day we take up the mantle of study and progression and really try to dive in and see what happens, and putting our money where our mouth is. So I haven't entered any of these positions yet, but I will be looking to do so soon. Digibyte as well, it's about to break through the moving average convergence and divergent on the 1 day chart too. So I've actually already had a position in Digibyte. So let's look at this against Bitcoin prices because that's where we were using last time. A very, very similar chart, obviously, but fundamentally they look different because the 236 line is in a different area. But here we go. We've stepped up against the 382. We've had this line drawn, I don't know, look, for months now. Around the 380 Satoshi mark is where we felt there was a lot of area of support and resistance through multiple highs and lows through the past here as well, as you can see all the way back to June 2017. Right, this line extends. Blue, 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 blue. Look at all these highs and lows. Bang, bang. Bang, 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 bang. That's a lot of highs and lows that we cut through right here. So we do suspect that will hold strong. And now that your moving average is about to break through, we suspect we will see another run up in Digibyte. So we've held a position in Digibyte because of that, because we felt we were already at the bottom. Litecoin, I still felt that there was room for a little more downside, especially because Bitcoin and Litecoin are almost like direct relatives of each other, to say, Digibyte, same thing, direct relatives of each other. They're in the currency and money space, whereas OMG goes actually in more in the payment and payroll layer. It's a different form of transfer. Essentially, just like Ripple, it's not a currency at all. It has no real value underlying itself, whereas Bitcoin actually has an underlying value because it is itself the protocol that allows you to transfer cross-border money without any banks or governments getting in the way. And that in itself, people just do not understand how fucking valuable that is, because banks and governments have always been the one that turn it off for you. They're always the people that go and say, oh no, you can't take out this much money. Oh, or now you're limited to this, or now you can't do that. So any real reference point like Ripple has gone to do to increase the bank's power is really just a stupid plague. It's not, it will never function long term, because tech has proved this over and over and over again. Decentralization is a wave that you cannot stop, and it empowers everybody, not just the few. And so I do believe the banks will be taken out in the long term. I don't know how long that will take. They are very archaic and stubborn little bastards. Just stubborn little bastards. If you could, look, if you walked into the bank and they accidentally gave you $10,000, you would never say anything to the bank. You'd be like, fuck you, bank! Because that's the smart thing to do. Banks are riddled with failures that have basically robbed people without them ever knowing. And even today, it's not common knowledge that banks are on the daily robbing people. That's what printed inflation does. It actually robs individuals of their spending power, usually faster than they can actually create it, which is a massive downside for those people that are farmers or artisans that are just working on creating their livelihood. So it's not, I don't want to digress too far again either, because I do go on rants. Cardano, again, right down near the bottom here. It's almost looking like an entry point for us, but I do suspect we're going to touch down just a little lower. I will enter Cardano because they've gotten a good green lit sentiment from the Chinese government, as well as XLM, oddly enough. XLM had a Chinese green lit from the government, although I'm not a big fan of this token either. Again, all it's meant to do is increase the liquidity, or create easier liquidity for the banks. But again, banks are the rotten institutions that really birth the more fruitful full and sweet taste of decentralized money and currency in the first place. So I don't see those things really lasting long term. In every playbook I've ever seen, the people do overthrow the government. It can take a long time. So I am betting on the people, and I will remain to bet on the people. But like I said, with something like XRP or XLM, if I see that there's a way to grab that attention, most importantly, the attention more than money at this point, and increase my ability to purchase more Bitcoin, that is fundamentally a great thing. And I've removed as much moral stagnation off the table as possible to try to take that attention in those gains and then move them back into the decentralized book. Anyway, so I want to take a look at the global markets really quick here for Bitcoin. As we've dropped down to around, let's look at the last year here. We've dropped down to around 54%, 52%. We're at 52% for Bitcoin dominance. Now, people get all huffy puffy about Bitcoin and its dominance, and Bitcoin is the main one. I don't think there is like the one in this ecosystem. I truly believe that decentralization requires the many, and that the choices that you have to work with different brands or companies that you like and support ideas. Look, for instance, let's use Betamax, right? Betamax and Blu-ray were definitely better technologies, but it didn't fucking matter. Nobody gave a shit. Vinyl is still a better technology than a CD for audio quality, but very few people fucking care, because it's not always about the technology the way you would suspect. It's actually about the branding, the use case, the mobility. It's what people themselves want to attach to and work with. Like, maybe it's just the fact that VHS sounded cooler than Betamax, right? It could have been the way it was. Or was it tape versus beta? I think I messed that one up, but you guys can correct me in the comments below. And with that in mind, leave your thoughts in your comments below. I do say wild things sometimes that may not actually be exactly correct, and we do try to soften the edges as we go because there's just so much information to try to go through in any single, and this is all off the top of my head, unscripted ranting. I just open some pages and I start talking about what I feel is important, and I go from there. So again, with Bitcoin at this 52% area, I think if we do run up to $7,400, we're going to see that final spike upwards. And that is likely where I will enter the rest of my digital alternative asset positions, because I believe that will be the last cheap time for most of them. And this is also going to be a big washout. Any of the crap tokens that don't make it through are going to be thrown to the docks. So actually, with this in mind too, we're gonna be doing some separate videos on Ravencoin, Cloakcoin, and Electronium as well, but not in today's market update. Also, again, I wanted to take a look at this as well. This was news about Bitfinex. The rumors of insolvency and banking issues are not actually true. You can directly look at their wallets and see that that's not true. Just something I wanted to point out. Again, I don't even know why you'd be worried about Bitfinex. They're not the ones that do, or I don't believe that they're the ones that do leverage trades. It's BitMEX, as far as I can tell. So anyways, Bitfinex seems to be fine. Wherever the FUD came from, whoever started these rumors, I mean, it's just as good as a telephone game. Although it does say here, Bitfinex disclosures are noteworthy given the controversial backstory of the US dollar stablecoin Tether and concerns with the lack of transparency. Well, here's the funny thing about Tether in my mind, right? Okay, you already have the US dollar that's being printed in mass amounts with no transparency whatsoever. We have trillions of dollars missing from some of the US fiscal yearbooks from. Anyways, the point of this is, why would we really care about Tether that only has a few $1 billion in it? It's not that Tether's all that fucking important. Like, people get their panties in a bunch about things that don't seem to really matter, missing out on some of these extremely noticeable differences in value. So here you have Tether at 2.7 billion, like barely a drop in the bucket. Like, one of my neighbor's companies makes 2.7 billion every fucking quarter. Like, Tether is not like a big player in this game, so I don't know why people give it so much credit. And as far as I'm concerned, it was actually a positive for the community. Even if it has no backing whatsoever, it's like, good. We're showing that we can create our own values of stable currencies and we don't need the governments to do it. That's fucking awesome in my rule book, man. I've sworn more times today than I normally do. So if there are kids in the room, I apologize. I apologize for that. Anyways, so I don't know why people make such a big deal about Tether. This is a drop in the bucket in comparison to what's actually going on in the market. So I don't give it a whole lot of light. All this like manipulation, it sounds like fucking bullshit to me. You can't escape the universe, and I think once you truly realize that, you start to become grateful for the way things are moving, and you play in the waves. You don't think that the surfers are going out there and making waves. Like, even the wave pools do not in any way compare to like some of the massive surf spots like Pipeline, Mavericks, or any, I don't know. You surfers will know the names of some of these places I'm talking about, but we don't have anything like that in the man-made area. The natural-made waves, you either enjoy them and play in them, or you get the fuck out of the way because they will destroy you. And that's basically what's happened. I think people have gotten destroyed, and the easiest thing to do is to blame someone else that has more money potentially. Oh, it's their fault for doing this. And I think that's where the manipulation story comes from. I don't buy it. It sounds like a bunch of fucking horse shit to me. It's like, baby, it's just don't complain. Ride the waves. If we know it's going down, don't fucking hodl. Just play the game, or unless you're an investor. And long-term investments are great. Like when I bought Bitcoin at $90 and it went to $1,300 and then back down to $200, it didn't bother me because I was an investor. Now I like trading. I like moving around and in and out of the waters and playing around like a dolphin. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Anyways, that's my rant for today. This is Tia with the Arcane Bear. Give us those thumbs up if you like this content. Pound that like button, subscribe, hit that little bell, all those fun things. Please join our Telegram channel in the links below. We've got a great community of people that keep the conversation going over there. Also, if you haven't yet, you can find us on Steemit, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those wildly old, I guess, and well, Steemit is kind of new, but you can find us on all the old social media heritage channels as well. So please do join us. This is Tia with the Arcane Bear. Thank you, Bear family. We absolutely love all the support, and we are very deeply grateful, and we graciously will show up every day to share our sentiments. Whether they're right or wrong, you know that you're getting my valid rant and opinion. This is Tia with the Arcane Bear. We're signing off. Maybe not for the rest of the day.